Hi, Ashley Welch. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed.
Yeah.
And are you happy for me to put this on the YouTube channel to share with other people just like you who are either preparing for a Part 3 standards check or like yourself who have just done a standards check?
Yeah,
So
totally happy with that.
you happy with that?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I'll fire away. I'll ask you some questions and then yeah, you can share your experience of your recent standards check. So so I guess really just a bit about yourself, Ashley. Like, what's your road to becoming an ADI? Like, how long you've been an ADI? Just stuff like that. So yeah, would you be happy to share?
Yeah, happy with that. So been an ADI for just over 12 months now. And but my journey's been a bit longer as a PDI. So I started before COVID, and then obviously COVID hit. Then we had that sort of period where we weren't teaching, and then I had my third attempt, my Part 3, almost straight after that. So I was a little bit out of practice maybe, and that resulted in me failing the third time for my Part 3. But I was determined to keep going, keep at it.
And did you have the same examiner throughout all those 3 attempts?
Yeah, same examiner throughout the whole time, and then second time round, end up passing my Part 3.
Magic. And how did that feel?
Oh, I was over the moon because I was putting so much effort and time into this. I know I could definitely do it. It was just the small little things which were the difference between a pass and a fail.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be down to your wording, or maybe you haven't said a sentence in the correct way, which can result just that slight mistake and yeah, you failing and passing.
So if you could advise any PDIs watching there that are, because it's a struggle and it feels like you're never going to get to the end of it, doesn't it? This can be a dark place sometimes. So anyone thinking about giving up, what would be your advice to them?
If you really enjoy the results of when people pass, because I get a good rush for myself, a good bit of pride. I've taught them a life skill for driving, and that's what really determines me to keep pushing forward, because I really enjoyed that. Look for your own enjoyment with the job, because to me it doesn't feel like a job. To me, I'm just going out, teaching some people, having a good laugh with all these different people, all different lives and backgrounds, and it's just great to meet new people, basically.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's good to hear. Good to hear. So yeah, thanks for that. So how long was it since you qualified till you got that letter that dropped through the letterbox to say you've got your standards check?
In total, a PDI for much for about 2 years, and then obviously got through.
So from when you become an ADI and qualified, because some people get their invite for their first standards check like after 6 months, some people get it well over a year. How long was your wait to be invited?
Roughly about 10 months. I got the email through, and then I couldn't book it in because there was no spaces anyway, so I had to give it a few more weeks till there was a space, and then when I did book it, it was about 2 to 3 months down the line anyway.
And did you have an engagement call with the examiner?
Yes, I did. I actually had 2.
Yeah, there you go. Share. Do share.
Yeah. The first one was just a quick 5-minute call, just saying that to arrange the engagement call, there's just a few basic questions. When would you be available and things like that? And you can tell them when you're available and they'll fit you in. Lucky enough, I was available on the next day, so he gave me a call sort of around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we just went through the questions, how long I've been at it, do you know where to get relevant information from, like your stats, for example, for your pass rates, etc. And he'll go through all that, like a questionnaire. There's no right or wrong answer. And if there's some bits where you're not sure about, he's happy to just supply you the links where to get that information from.
And did he give you any words of advice before you do it, or not?
He offered sort of that sort of help if I needed it, if I was going to ask him a question. But to be honest, at that time I was quite keen, I was confident. I thought, you know what, I don't really need any advice, because I was quite confident. But that all changed about a week before it actually started.
Cool. So yeah, so that now you got your date, and so would you like to share in your own words the day, your standards check, your experience of your first one?
Yeah. So, well, like I said, about a week before, I was starting to play on my mind, getting a bit nervous, especially the night before. I was really nervous to play on my mind, and because it was in the afternoon for the standards check, I took all day off. I didn't want to be teaching anyone, and maybe I should take my mind off things, but I was playing my mind. I was thinking to myself, self-doubt myself.
Did you tell me you had a bit of game of Tarkov before you went on?
Yeah, played a bit of Tarkov. Just to take my mind off things, do it. Best advice, try and do something which is something you enjoy, which is going to take your mind off things till you go for your standards check. That is the best way. Try and get a good night's sleep before as well.
Yeah, that is such good advice, actually. To eat a breakfast, drink, be hydrated, and a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I think there was something about, even if you're 2% dehydrated, that's 20% drop for your concentration. Something like that I've heard before, but
yeah,
hydration is a good
I've
one.
heard similar. Yeah, from Bob Morton. Funny enough, I went to one of Bob Morton's training sessions, and he was really sort of had some stats on that. I was very. You were there, that's where you were there. That's where we heard it. Bob Morton.
That's where it is. Bob. Yeah. But so on the day, picked my student up an hour before the standards check, and what we was going to do is go for a little drive around near the test center, see if there's any faults, and I kept that in the back burner, ready for the standards check. Didn't really have a lesson actually planned for this, and I need to emphasize to everyone that don't go in thinking, right, I'm going to do roundabouts and that's it. Okay, because things change, and you need to change as an instructor. You need to adapt of what is happening, and people tend to lose focus of that, thinking, oh yeah, it's only a small little thing, don't worry about that, and that small thing will turn into something bigger, and you need to work on that point. So anyway, before we got to this test center, he made a mistake going on the approach of a roundabout, where just before it there's a pedestrian crossing. You need to be in the right hand lane for going ahead, because the road markings and signs are telling you to be in the right hand lane for going ahead, because left lane was left only. And he saw the green lights at the pedestrian crossing, and he went for it, thinking those lights to do with the roundabout. I think that's the roundabout controlled by traffic lights. But there was a car coming around the other way, so I had to use my brakes. Almost had to do an emergency stop. And I thought I'll leave it to the most safest moment just to see if he does react to this car coming round, and he didn't. So I got the brakes in, stopped at the line, and I said, we'll talk about that later. And I used that example for my stance check. That's what I used. That's my plan anyway. Go redo that roundabout. And then a little bit further down the road, we would turn on right at a junction. There's a nice little box you can go into for turn on right. And he was a bit late going in there. So I thought, right, I'll use these two for my stance check. Two little small subjects there, quite quick fixes, which should be enough for me to see for my stance check. So that by then, went straight to the test center. And then that's when I met the examiner.
So that lesson that you just spoke about was what, days before, hours before?
Just before.
Just magic.
Just
Way to do
before.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, right, I had that in my back burner. I thought, right, we'll use that for the standards check. So when I went to the test centre, the examiner came out, done a little bit of description about my student, how many hours he has had. So he's part trained. So I think at the time he was about 14 hours. Yeah, 14 hours trained. And he wanted to know just a few faults, what he may do. And then I explained to him what he just did with the roundabout and also turn him right in the box. And I'll say, right, we're going to go do that. And he was happy with that. And we was off. So at the test centre in Lowestoft, it's a nice ramp you have to go up to get yourself out of the test centre, which leads you straight onto the main road. And he rolled back quite a bit. So I quick grabbed that handbrake, or well, dual controlled, then got the handbrake on for him because he just didn't know what he was sort of flapping a little bit, I suppose, being someone new in the back. And then I said to him, look, if you're on a hill here, use your handbrake. Yeah, that's the safest option. Then it's going to free up your right foot into it. And then the examiner, I can see him in the corner of my eye, nodding his head, thinking, yes, love this. This is great. So keep a good eye out with what the examiner is doing in the back as well, because if he's nodding away, you're doing good. All right, that's best of one of the tips you can I can give. So because he rolled back a bit, I helped him talk through a little bit to get himself out of the test centre because we need to get going. And then I asked him, would you like to try that again? He was like, no, got it. I'm happy. You know, make sure I got the biting point and I'm off. And then and that's what he did. So we went out of the test centre, went down the road, and there was another car parked up on the hill. Where to get around it? We couldn't get around it because there's an oncoming car. So he stopped and waited on the hill. And then again, he rolled back. So straight away, I had to be on the controls, stopping and rolling back because we had a car behind us. Then I mentioned about the handbrake again. So use your handbrake. It's the best option. We just talked about this 2 minutes ago. So before we knew it, we had to get moving. Then we turned right around about. Before I mentioned about let's go do some hill starts, he's trying to squeeze through a car with an oncoming car coming towards him. So I drilled him on that as well. Then we pulled up, had a little talk about the two situations, about hill starts and meeting points. And I asked him, would you like to go try some? And he agreed. And then I adapted the lesson to go do hill starts and then some meeting situations. So we talked about hill starts, the whole thing about using your handbrake, two things you need for hill starts. It's obviously your biting point and giving it plenty of gas. So we talked all about all that good stuff, the whole POM routine.
And were you getting that out of him, or how was that sort of conversation was going?
It was I'll say about 60% him, getting the information out of him. There was some bits where he wasn't sure or he couldn't remember, so I gave him a little hint. But make sure you get your biting point and things like that. And he was like, yeah, okay, happy days. So we nailed hill starts. We've done a few laps round on the same hill. It's about 2 or 3 times. And he was happy with that. I was quite happy with that because he was getting it lovely. Moving off, no rollback, plenty of gas, and off he goes. And I said, right, let's, still got a bit of time left. Let's go find some parked cars and let's go try and get the whole meeting situation. When to go, when not to go. How do we judge that and things like that? Unfortunately, whilst we're going around, it seems like there's no cars around, driving around. There's plenty of parked cars, but not a lot of oncoming cars to challenge us. So I knew I went down one road, I knew there'd be parked cars, but it was quiet enough to pretend there's some parked cars come towards us.
So you did like the what if the car was coming. Yeah.
So we did that. I said, right, let's pretend there's a car coming towards us. What do we need to do? And he's like, I just need to be a bit behind that car. and he positioned himself quite nicely as well. And then I was saying, it's still busy, it's still busy, it's still busy. Now it's clear. So then he's moved off. And as he just moved off, he stalled the car. So he restarted himself, got going, and we had a little discussion why he stalled. And he came up with the answer himself because he was too quick off the clutch. And I said, would you like to try that again? He was like, yes, please. So the second time we went round, same again, pretend there's cars coming through. And then he nailed it as he moved off. No stall, no nothing. And by then, the examiner was like, you got 10 minutes left, you need to get back to the test centre. I was like, yep, no worries, we're now going back.
And at that point, did you think, wow, like, where's all the time gone? Did it go really quick?
Yeah, very, very quick. It just flies by because you have about 30 to 35 minutes of actual drive time. You have about, well, I had a bit longer at the beginning for the brief. It was about 5 to maybe 8 minutes at the beginning, just to cover the 2 points what we was meant to be doing.
Yeah.
With the roundabouts, with the roundabout and the box junction. But because he messed up on the hill starts, had to adapt the lesson and had to deal with that first.
When the examiner let you know that you need to be heading back, did at that point you think, oh no, we haven't done what we set out to do? Did you worry about that?
Not at all. Not at all, because
cool.
I know in my mind that he's made these mistakes. I've adapted the lesson to accommodate to those mistakes. But let's get these sorted first before we move on to the roundabout. And before you know it, time's over, going back to the test centre, and you're back.
So you get back, and then what was the format? What happened?
So yeah, when we got back, quick, literally 2-minute debrief of some of the points what we covered. Obviously, quick reminders, top tips for obviously hill starts or meeting situations and things like that. And he was happy, and I asked him, do you feel confident enough to deal with that hill coming out that slope on your own again? And he said yes. So I was quite happy with that. Hang on, my headset just turned itself off.
Can you hear me?
One moment. Have a little talk.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Headset's working.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah. So I said to him, Kenny, do you think you'll be able to do that slope when that test? And he was happy. He said, yeah, definitely. The examiner seems to be pretty happy. He seems to be quite keen just to get out. Doesn't seem to be too bothered about the end debrief, because most of the work is whilst you're out.
So like, did you feel at that point he's decided?
Yeah. I felt
he's made his mind up and he wants to get out.
Yeah, pretty much. He was itching to get out, and he started packing his pens away and put his folder back together and stuff like that, and take his seatbelt off. So I knew that, yeah, he's thin enough. So I made that quite short, sweet debrief, and that was it, really.
And what did he say? Wait in the waiting room. I'll come and find you in what?
Yeah. So he said,
10,
you can wait in
minutes.
Yeah, he said, go in the waiting room. I'll be with you in about 10 minutes. Shouldn't be too long. So he came out, he invited me into the office, had a quick 5-minute chat. He didn't tell me if I passed or not.
Nice.
To start with, he started telling me all the good stuff. Like, yeah, that's brilliant. You did this, you did that, and then he started going into some of the points where I should be working on. And then I started self-doubting myself. Well, did I pass? And then I asked him. I said, "Did I pass?" He went, "Oh yeah, definitely." What? Didn't you think you passed? I was like, "I don't know." But I think deep down, I was quite content with that standards check. Overall, I was thinking, yeah. Whilst I was waiting in the waiting room, I thought, yeah, I've nailed this. I'm happy with that. And
so compared to a part 3, did it feel different? Did it feel a bit more relaxed, a bit more less stressful because you've been doing the job longer?
Yeah, I felt, like I said, been doing the job longer, a bit more experienced, because when I did my part 3, to me, I just felt it was all over the place as a lesson. And to what it was with my standards check, it was just a bit more in control of what's actually happening. But they're obviously both passes, so I was quite happy with it.
Brilliant. Good. Sorry.
Yeah, just obviously when I was getting a debrief from the examiner, he gave me a few little tips and tricks to sort of just improve with my own sort of learning and skills.
So yeah, what from that, what did he say? Yeah, that'd be interesting to sort of any tips from the examiner, what you could have done to improve that.
Yeah, he just basically said to get your scores a little bit higher, just don't let the small things slip. Keep on top of the MSPSL, keep on top of the POM routine, LADA, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
and you'd score a lot higher score if you just don't let the small little things slip. Just keep
so
an eye on them.
they love the routines. Yeah, routines and the things that will help the pupil remember so they could do it themselves. Would you say that's his take on it?
Yeah. And that was it. Debrief done. Went back to the car, nice big smile on my face. Thought, right, cool, happy days.
Good.
I was proper chuffed with it, really.
So and did he say we'll see you in like 4 years? Did he give you an indication of?
No, I did ask him about the whole process. When would I get called up again? And he said, as long as you don't trigger the trigger points, which you can find obviously on the Gov website, you'll be left alone. If they said it'll be over a 10-month period all the time, so let's say you've done 2 months time, the last 2 months of that period will drop off, and if as long as your results are good all the time of your tests, then you'll never get called in. I know a couple of instructors, they've not even had a standards check, and they've been at it for about 4 to 5 years.
What? So, never, not one? Like not
no,
one after they passed?
No.
Oh, they're lucky.
So they're very, very lucky. But yeah, as long as you don't trigger those points, you'll be left alone. It's all done by computer, not a person. There's not someone behind the desk going, ooh, his results look a bit poor, or you're struggling a little bit there. I'll drag him in. But it's not like that. It's computer generated.
So where did you find out your stats? Because that would be something people would be interested to know. How would you find out how you doing?
Well, it's on I believe it's on the Gov website. You can contact them directly as well. Give them a call. They can give you a link with your stats, or they'll send it through email.
That's it. I think Paddy is the email to do that.
Yes.
And I believe when I spoke to the examiner that their plan is to get it online, so we could maybe log in and get it, but that's not happening yet. So that'd be good. Just sort of log into your account and get your data for your tests. So that'll happen one day, I guess. So so good. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, for everyone who's doing obviously their standards check part 3s, the best thing is stay flexible. Watch your student closely.
So like your top tips for
so
taking either a part 3 or standards check.
Yeah, so keep an eye on your student or what they're doing. If they make a fault, be on them. Fix that fault. If you ignore that fault, then your scores are going to get knocked down quite rapidly. Use the whole see it, say it, sort it. Okay, so as soon as you see the problem, then say about it. Say, look, made a fault there. We'll talk about it in a minute. If they're still trying to do something else, if there's a roundabout, etc., let them finish what they're doing and then discuss about it. If you can do it on the move, great. If not, if it's something a bit more serious, do pull up. Okay, you're not going to get a fault for pulling up if you need a quick talk. because some students, they prefer to come to a stop and listen because they can take that information in a bit better of what you're saying instead of them trying to drive and listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And just stay flexible. Just be on them, and you'll sail through the part 3 and standards check.
Brilliant. Great. So thank you, Ashley. That's been immense, really good, interesting. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, I'm sure I'll put it on my YouTube channel, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of questions. And yeah, I just really appreciate your time to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, that's